Larry, a lot of people think that sales is about convincing someone to buy something. And it's not. It's really about creating certainty. And that certainty starts with trust.
I would agree with that.
Without a foundation of trust, it's really, that certainty can never really exist. So today we're going to break down how to trust, how to create trust intentionally, and what the things are that an individual needs to feel certain in order to take the next step to buy from you. I'd like to start with why, in your mind, why do certainty and trust need to be developed in that order?
Meaning, when you say certainty and trust in that order, you mean trust first, correct?
Yes.
Well, I think that in order for someone to be open to becoming more certain of something because of what someone else is leading in conversation, they need to decide that they trust the person enough to listen to them. They need to trust that the person has the intention of walking them through something that might actually be good for them without trying to scam them or get one over on them. I don't think if you trust someone, you're not going to listen to someone build a case if you don't trust them.
Yeah. So is that the reason that you think we need to start with trust rather than trying to develop certainty?
I do. The other thing is that's tricky about this. I think that's a reliable order, but oftentimes people that are just very purely logical are going to feel that they can trust someone as they've built certainty in them about whatever it is that they're talking about, which is reasonable. I think that your job is easier and people are more open to sharing what they're uncertain about if they trust you. And I think that's a really important position to have in any sales conversation, that people are willing to share what they're uncertain about. I don't think that happens without trust.
Yeah. Do you think that most professionals underestimate the importance here of how they need to intentionally be earning trust?
Yes. I think that most people feel that they know what they know and they're being straightforward and honest about that as far as they can tell. And anyone that doesn't see it the way they see it and the way they explain it is dumb or lazy or unmotivated or whatever it is. And I actually think that's a lazy perspective. I think that the gift and the curse of the person who is going to lead or influence someone to behavior change is that it is your job to meet them where they are, which means you have to spend the energy to meet them where they are and communicate in a way that they are going to receive, not in a way that you're going to receive. If you care enough about doing business with that person, that's your job to do.
I was thinking about this as I was walking in this morning, this interesting difference between hearing someone and listening to someone. I think a lot of us go through a lot of experiences and we hear a lot of things without actually listening and trying to process and understand. Because look, I've done hundreds of discovery calls at this point in time in the last 3 years, at least 100 a year. And one of the most important things that I've found is for the person on the other end of the phone to feel like they're being seen, heard, listened to, and understood. Even the analytic, the person who's like, yeah, tell me about the process. I typically go with, I'm happy to share with all of that with you. Before we do that, is it okay with you if I ask you some questions to make sure that this would even be a good fit so that I don't give you information you don't actually need? That's then allows them to say, what are the goals? What are the limits? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Allows them to feel heard, to feel listened to and understood.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So let's start with the 4 pillars of trust. Walk us through these 4 pillars and how they translate into the behavior that clients can actually feel.
Yeah. The first one is propriety. And propriety means, in a nutshell, seem like the person who would or who is. It's, do you appear to be, by first, maybe second impression, like the kind of person who would be competent enough to help me achieve my goals? Do you seem smart? Do you seem enthusiastic? Do you seem equipped with the knowledge necessary to help me? Do you act like the kind of person that I would feel comfortable guiding me? Do you dress and groom in a way that shows you take your job seriously? Do you use and avoid language that seems respectable towards yourself and towards other people? Or do you speak disparagingly about other people? Or are you very, very flippant and with curses and all of those sorts of things. These are going to give people a general impression of the kind of person you are. And I think that up front, those are really important to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. I think back to when I started my coaching career and the propriety piece around the uniform, right? And it was sweatpants, maybe a tank top, a cutoff tee, a backwards hat,
untied
shoes, the whole get up. That was the CrossFit coach, right? And the people who we're working with now at the flagship and the people that I started to work with towards the end of having my first business, they would not have even entertained a conversation with me about being able to really solve a high level problem for them if I had shown up that way with them.
And I think that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's natural, which is why it's important that we spend a little bit of energy up front auditing, well, how are we actually coming off? Because in a people business where first impressions matter, I think that a lot of times people have a lot of pride about wanting to just be who they are and showing up as they are. And that's all good and well, but it just means that you're automatically going to filter out a lot of people whose first impressions are turning them away that otherwise might be a fantastic fit for you.
And if you want to do that intentionally,
you can
go for it.
Yeah. If you want to give yourself the best shot at as many people that you want to help as possible, who will give you the time of day to listen. I mean, you can audit a little bit about how you're coming off, and it doesn't mean that you have to, look like a cardboard robot like everyone else or talk like everyone else. That's not what that means. It just means, what can you do to make it obvious that you're someone who takes their job seriously and looks like a legitimate professional in your field?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the group, like in the group class businesses that I had, one of the things that we started with was simply having a uniform. So we had very specific coach shirts, as an example. When we delivered personal training, we wore polos. When we did consultations, we wore a polo. And it was a nice polo, and like polo, black sweatpants. And it just said, hey, what we're doing here is different than what everyone in the group class is doing.
Yeah, it's small, but I think it says something.
Mm-hmm. And I think the uniform, it's like, if you think about any superhero, right? They have a uniform. Like if you think about other professions, they have a uniform, and there's something that happens when you put that on. Like when Superman takes off his shirt and you see the S and you see the cape and he takes off the glasses, there's a change that happens in his state and his energy and how he shows up. And I think that's an important thing if you're trying to step into maybe a professional avatar, looking at that aspect and analyzing, okay, am I showing up? Is the thing that I'm wearing, the suit that I'm putting on, the presentation, is that in alignment with who I say that I want to be?
As an example, in the other direction, a clown is not going to be as funny or as entertaining if he's wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants.
Yeah, that's a good example.
The uniform, it seals the deal.
Yeah. Okay. I feel good about propriety. Anything else on propriety?
No, I think that there are a lot of ways. I love when I say no and then I list 8 more.
Right.
Stop.
No, here's more.
Yeah, here's more. Yes, there is more on propriety. There are a lot of small ways that people don't realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot. Examples are drinking a cup of coffee in front of a client.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem? Well, what does it mean to you if someone is drinking a cup of coffee in front of you during a consultation? Well, I have a couple of assumptions. One, it means that you're dragging. I don't want to work with someone that's dragging. 2, it means that you're at least in part distracted by the beverage that you're interested in. So you're less present. Now, these are small things, but they do hit the person and they do accumulate to a net effect of trust or not.
Yeah.
So when you're walking yourself through something like this and you're thinking about something that's part of your situation, it doesn't have to be audited all at once. You have to ask yourself, well, if I were in this situation, how would this impact me as the potential consumer? So the way that you talk about other people, the ideas that you will or won't entertain, all of these things, the way that you look, the way that you smell, whether you're leaning or sitting up straight, your posture, a lot of these things have a huge, huge impact on how people feel talking to you.
Simon Sinek's example of the phone pops into my head because one of the, like hands-free coaching, he talks about having the phone and even going out to dinner with somebody and they take their phone and they put it on the table and even put it upside down on the table.
It's huge, man.
What are they signaling to everyone else at the table?
Yeah.
That this is more important. And if something on this were to come up, this is going to be a priority over this conversation.
That's right.
So even that, right? Like having your phone out or having a tablet or a laptop out while you're doing these things. If you're going to take notes on your phone, just make it abundantly clear to the person that you're working with. Hey, I'm going to take some notes while we have this conversation. I'm going to use my phone or this tablet or this laptop and make it very clear to them the purpose here so that they don't assume you scrolling on Instagram or answering a text message.
I think it's a good idea. Whenever I'm in consultation virtually and people see me looking off screen, I let people know, hey, I'm not sending cat memes to my wife. I'm just taking notes here. I just want them to know where my attention is. So I appreciate that example.
It's a good idea. All right. Number 2, commonality.
Yeah. Everyone wants to either be in a room of people that they're like in a way that they find favorable, or around people that they want to be like. People don't want to be around people that they don't want to be like. And commonality is about finding the threads that are either current, that people like and appreciate, or aspirational for people. And I think that oftentimes it's hard for people to imagine how they can be like someone that seems so apparently different from them. But there are a lot of ways that we can have commonality that are small, and it doesn't have to be major things. It doesn't have to, if you come up from a lot of money and the person you're talking to comes from none, you're not going to force relatability socioeconomically about how you grew up. And you shouldn't try to. If you're from one religion and someone else is from another, you shouldn't necessarily understand their perspective, but you guys can share the commonality that you both have faith in something that's bigger than yourself, right? So there are a lot of ways that we can start finding out and looking at this person and just asking yourself simple questions like, what is something that I see in this person that I see in myself? If you can ask yourself that question, it'll allow you the opportunity to connect to them about that thing that they see. And the truth about commonality is they don't actually care that you have the thing as much as they care that you get the thing that they have.
Like you understand it.
Yeah. People don't really care about whether or not we're the same as much as they feel like they're understood. I don't remember what it was, but there's this either child or family psychologist who did a bunch of experimenting, and he was describing that feeling felt is really, really important to people. Feeling felt.
Feeling felt. That's interesting.
It's another way of saying feeling understood.
Yeah.
Right? Like feeling like people have felt the emotional reality of your situation. That's feeling felt, right? Like when someone sits and looks and they go, oh man, I see what you're going through. That's something. People care more about you finding the things relatable or not that you can see and empathize with and validate. But when you can find those things and they're things that you can share or volunteer that makes them say, yeah, that's exactly my experience, that's really powerful stuff. So I would look for those because there are probably more of them than you can think. And if you ask yourself the question, what do I see in this person that I can see in myself? I think that'll give you a lot of information that you weren't previously considering could be commonality. And that's going to really light people up and feel connected to you.
Are there any examples that you can think of that people could use to create this relatability without it feeling like kind of forced small talk?
What do you mean by forced small talk? Walk me through that.
So like forced small talk, like, the general stuff like, how's the weather? How you doing? How you feeling?
Ugh.
How's the day?
I'd rather not talk to someone than do that. It's true.
I agree.
Yeah.
Small talk versus big talk.
Yeah, I don't think you should do small talk.
Okay, so you're trying to create this bridge and you're trying to create some understanding here. How do you drive towards relatability without falling in that trap of just having this endless loop of small talk and invaluable conversation?
Well, you don't need to be talking small to be relatable. If you're halfway through a conversation, I'll give you an example. Today, I enrolled a student who is a 13-year physical therapist who wants to leave physical therapy altogether, and she wants to be a coach that bridges the gap between healthcare and fitness. She wants this for a couple of reasons. She has no background doing it. She's starting from scratch with this skill. She's great at 0 to 2. She has no idea how to do anything 2 to 8. And that's what she's here for, right? 45-year-old woman who, along with her husband, is from India. Their 2 kids are from India. They're tightly plugged into a South Asian community. And there are a couple different faiths there that I don't have. They speak a couple of languages that I don't have. English is clearly, it's there, but you can tell that there's mixed language and culture there. Beautiful. Love it. Big fan. It so happens that I am not Indian. I don't follow their faith and I don't speak their language. I am not directly an immigrant to this country. My father is, but I'm not directly an immigrant to this country. And I don't have a strong connection in any South Asian community. I also don't have experience as a clinician in a physical therapy clinic. And I also don't have 2 kids yet. I also don't have a husband. Right?
Right.
So there's a lot that I can't relate to here. I do, however, have Indian family members.
Okay.
And I do have a strong interest in language and culture. And I do have 2 kids on the way. And I do know a lot of clinicians. And I do understand the people that she sees that are struggling to be able to participate in things like cricket and pickleball and the activities that they want and can't, that physical therapy isn't helping with. And beyond that, what I see in her that I see in myself is someone who moves typically quickly and is much more interested in the practical application of what they're learning and learning along the way than doing research on 100% of the thing theoretically and figuring it out. And I told her as much. And so those are ways that she probably connected with me, some 36-year-old white Long Island Jew, in a way that she never anticipated she would today.
Sure.
That's what I mean. They don't have to be small things.
Okay. And you went through, now what did your process for that look like? Were you like doing this research ahead of time? You're having the conversation. Were you thinking about these things as
No, that's the beauty of it. This was all revealed to me in the first 5 minutes of consultation. And as the consultation rolled on, I'm paying attention, man. Like if you pay attention, you're not going to have to go searching. And the beauty of the way brains work is that when you see things, you remember other things that you've seen before.
Yeah.
Right. So
the old reticular activating system.
I mean, like being facetious aside, I mean, when things come up for you, it triggers other things in your memory and your awareness, and you should bring those to the conversation. And it wasn't 15, 20 minutes of me having a deep and important conversation about where she was at and what was important to her that I found all of these points of relatability, and I volunteered that. Right.
I think you volunteering those is an important piece to highlight, because what I've noticed for myself sometimes in these like discovery conversations is I try to make it so focused on them that I might be relating internally, but I'm not externally voicing that. Like, oh, there's a similarity there. I'm not calling that to light.
I see.
So that's interesting. Thank you for that. Anything else on commonality?
Nope.
Okay. Pillar number 3, credibility.
I think a lot of people are hung up on this one.
Say more.
Well, I think a lot of people are either very prideful of what they think their credibility is, or they're extremely insecure about what their credibility is not. And I think that at any given point, you need to be doing 3 things. You need to be clear and maintain ownership over what you do know, and maintain confidence in what you do know. You need to be ready to be humble about what you don't yet know. And you need to be honest about those things you don't know with the person without any shame around that, but instead excitement around opportunity to find the answer for the person that you're talking to. I'll give you an example. When you do know something, you can speak with a tone of authority and confidence around it, and that's unmistakable, right? It's kind of like the one I'm using right now because I feel very confident about what I'm saying. When you speak with a tone of what you do know, and your head and your heart and your gut have decided, I know this and I should tell this to this person, it's going to be clear and it's going to be abundant. No one's going to argue with it. People are reassured by that. When you don't know something, the mistake that I've seen in the past is people BSing their way through an answer because they're afraid of being perceived as someone who doesn't have an answer to the client's question. Because the story underneath it is, if I don't know something, this person's going to lose trust in me because they're going to perceive that I'm not credible. They're not going to want to do business with me. I'm going to fall into a shame hole, and I'm going to be poor, and I'm going to have to go find a real job somewhere. It doesn't go there. If you BS your way through an answer, it will go there because people are going to be like, I feel like you're giving me a BS answer right now, and that's not trustworthy. Why are you doing this? If instead you say something like, honestly, I have some ideas, but to say them right now would be a half-baked guess, and you deserve better than that. What I would like to do is connect with some of my colleagues that are going to have a much more clear and confident answer on this than I can provide you right now. And if it's okay with you, within the next 24 hours, I'd like to come back to you with a much better answer than I can give you right now. Is that okay? No one's going to be pissed at you for that.
Right.
Everyone's going to be like, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the value of the I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a couple of thoughts that come up for me around this. sometimes in our profession, we assume that all of the letters that come after our name are the most important parts.
Yeah.
So it's stacking the certifications and the credentials.
Yeah.
And the second piece is, Einstein said it, and I'm going to butcher exactly how he says it, but the true marker of understanding is that you can explain it like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Or to a 5-year-old.
To a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I've noticed even, sometimes in our capacity at the flagship, like we get caught in this anatomical jargon that just totally goes over their head. And we fall into this trap of over explaining. Yeah. And that can actually either they're like in and out because they don't actually care about insertion origin. They just want the solution.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't do that, it can begin to decrease trust because they start to perceive that you're trying to justify your answer with over explanation.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. There's a difference between saying, look, the idea here is that your glenohumeral joint doesn't glide the way we want it to, and saying, the problem is that you have a neck that's sitting between two shoulders that aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
I want to hear that one.
Yeah.
I know what a glenohumeral joint is, and I want to hear the second one.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really, really easy for people to start to digest and go, yeah, that checks out. That's how I felt for the last 20 years. Right.
Yeah.
That's what people are looking for with that. And I actually think that makes you more credible if you can do that.
I agree with that. Well, it's the way that they're talking in their head.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on credibility?
Nope.
All right. Fourth, intent. What is intent? Why does it matter?
This is the one that, like, you're either a 25-year FBI investigator or a 25-year con artist or just like a sociopath if you can effectively fake this, or a really good actor, right? But this is one that's really hard to fake, and that's the beauty of it. Your intent is something that is hard-baked in all of us as human beings and most social animals to be able to suss out. Like, your intent is, what are we here for? What are you trying to do right now? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? Mm-hmm. And I think the idea here is it's very hard to fake the intention of being unbiased in where this person spends their money.
Yeah.
If you're thinking, I hope I get a sale out of this, some of that is coming through. Yeah. It's going to affect, I would wager to say it's going to affect the way that you smell. That's consciously imperceptible, but that your person will subconsciously perceive. Yeah, it'll because of your hormones. For anyone who's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Your hormones, right? If you have an elevated cortisol level, I think that affects the way that you smell. And I think that if you're like on a hunt for someone, your cortisol is going to be up.
Desperation has a smell.
Desperation has a smell. Perfect. It's going to come through in your body language, your micro expressions, all of it. And we're not consciously picking these things up, but we're attuned to like all of these signals that are coming through. It's going to slip in your words. It's going to be in your body language. All of it's going to come through in the tone of your voice. That's letting the person know I'm really after your money and I'm going to do what I need to do here to get you to buy. Mm-hmm. That's one intent. The other intention is, look, I'm an effective advocate for people in your position. I don't care where you go, but I do want what's best for you. I understand how to have the questions answered by you that will make it obvious to both of us what you should do, whether that's here or not. I care most about you getting the outcomes that you want, and I don't really care about where your money goes. If it so happens to be here, great. I'm going to ask you for your money, and then we're going to give you the service that you want. If it should be somewhere else, I'm going to tell you to go there. That's a very, very different intention, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people are going to feel that. So if you struggle with this and you find yourself constantly thinking about the money or the sale, which, by the way, when you're building a business from nothing and you're broke and you're just getting by, it's kind of hard not to think about money. So I'm not knocking that. I've been there longer than I care to admit, right? But if you can practice getting yourself to a position of being an unbiased advocate, and it's really about them first and last, the way that you show up in conversation is going to be much more comfortable. They're going to trust you much more, and the conversation is going to go to better places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, it's not only just when you're building a business, because that is certainly, there can be some of that there, but even when you have an established business and you're working on enrollment, you can these same feelings still come up for me.
Yeah.
We have $80,000 months, and if we're not hitting $80,000, like towards the middle of the month, I'm not projecting it. I'm like, I feel something coming up. Yeah. Okay, let's take a breath. give ourselves some space. So is there anything that you do proactively in that scenario? Let's say that you have a discovery call or a consultation coming up. How do you set yourself up for success before that?
Yeah. Well, the good news about this is that when you've done it enough times, it starts to become an automatic way of being. But when I was establishing this as a way of being, I was taking at least 5 minutes before every call to sit quietly with my eyes closed and just reflect on the person and just start to think about what I'm there for. And I would put myself in a place of already being full. And I don't want to sound like a woo-woo, whatever it is, but I mean, I'm just describing, okay, I have everything that I want and need. And I could be of massive use to this person. And there's a very, very different energy when you are looking to get or take, or you're looking to give. Mm-hmm. And so I put myself in a position to give for 5 minutes. And I close my eyes and I think about the person and I try to connect with them as much as I can energetically. And I think about what's important to them. And I think about how meaningful it is for me to be able to help them in whatever way it is. And I get to a soft and loving place. And when I go there, it becomes a much easier conversation because the whole thing is a give. And people feel that.
Mm-hmm. One of the things you had said a moment ago was around that intention before the conversation of not being agnostic to what decision they make.
Yeah.
Do you let people know that when you start the call or the conversation?
Yeah, it comes out in the frame of describing like, look, what I want to do here today is find out enough about you so that I can be clear around what you actually most need. And if it turns out that this would serve what you're looking for, we could talk about possible next steps. If it turns out that what you want is actually somewhere else, I'm going to send you there if I know the place. Mm-hmm. I'm most interested in what you need and what you're looking for, and wherever that is, we'll point you in that direction. Mm-hmm. Sound fair enough? And then people usually really like that.
Yeah, I think it's a really great way to start the conversation. And maybe, if you're doing the discovery call process or have any sort of process before you do a consultation, it's a good thing to consider adding if you don't already have it, because that was one thing that we ended up adding into the discovery call SOP intentionally, was starting the conversation that way.
Yeah, it's a helpful frame.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Is there anything else that you want to cover on these 4 pillars of trust?
I think the difference between you crossing your fingers and hoping something falls in your lap and you feeling like you see opportunity everywhere and feel confident about what to do about that opportunity comes down to the skill of connecting with people and being someone trustworthy. And this is going to happen overnight. But I think that this is something that you should be practicing with strangers all the time, everywhere. I firmly believe that one of the most important skills as a human being that you can develop is the ability to talk to anyone about anything, anytime, especially if you don't know them. And if you can do that, you're going to be someone that's really easy to connect with. And ultimately, that's what people want. So I would practice these things. And what's going to start to happen is you're not only going to see opportunity more, but you're going to feel really confident about what to do about it.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful.
That's all I got.
Good job. Thanks, Larry.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you're going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.